Saber face. If you're into Fate, you've definitely heard of it. If we trace it back to the beginning, there's Arthur, then Artoria, and then John, the one Jill said looks just like Artoria. Then it kept growing. And before we knew it, we got Artoria Alter, her clone daughter, a country girl gravekeeper who looks like Artoria, the Roman contrast version of Artoria, and even the sickly joke version of her. And then it just spiraled. We got Adult Artoria, Alien Artoria, Tyrant Artoria, Artoria Spellcaster, and the list goes on. So, what's going on here? Why are there so many characters with the same face? Let's dig into one of the most talked about things in the Fate series, the Saber face phenomenon. Saber face refers to characters who share the same facial features as Saber, or more specifically, Artoria Pendragon. Some of them have an actual connection to Artoria, while others don't. And while this mostly happens within Type Moon's works, fans have even pointed out characters from other series that resemble Saber, so what's really going on here? We're gonna talk about where it all started and how this whole phenomenon blew up, so much that it's still going strong today, not just in this series community, but even across the anime community in general. Let's slide into this. Well, this whole Saber face thing actually ties back to a common issue among artists called same face syndrome. It's not exactly the problem in this case, but that's where it all starts. So before we go deeper into Saber face, we gotta understand what same face syndrome is. Same face syndrome happens when multiple characters in a series have almost identical facial features, making them hard to tell apart unless they have distinct hairstyles, clothes, or accessories. This is super common in anime, manga, and comics, especially in series with huge casts or simplified art styles. Some artists try to work around it by giving characters unique eye shapes, scars, tattoos, or color-coded designs, but others fully embrace it. Take One Piece, for example. It has a massive cast of characters from different cultures and backgrounds, and if you look at the male characters, they all have pretty distinct facial structures. Whether it's Luffy's simple human features, Usopp's exaggerated nose and long face, Jinbei's round and non-human appearance, or Moria's, whatever shape his body is. But when you look at the female characters, a lot of them have the same face, or rather the beauty type. It's like Oda has a specific idea of beauty, and he sticks to it. The only real difference is their hairstyles. I mean, just look at this. To me, they all look like Nami, just with different flavors. Or like Robin, but with slight variations in style. Not all of them, sure, but a lot. It's the same in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, especially in the later parts. Araki's characters have wild hairstyles and crazy outfits, so people don't notice as much, but the faces are pretty similar. Even Attack on Titan had this issue. There was a whole joke about how Eren Yeager and Frida Reiss looked way too similar for no real reason. And people even made theories about it. Gintama's creator, Hideaki Sarachi, straight up admitted that he just draws Shinpachi's face over and over, changing only the details like hair and accessories. He didn't even try to hide it. See what I mean? Most people don't even notice this stuff unless someone points it out. Now, how does this connect to Saber face? Well, as you might have guessed, there's one particular illustrator in Type Moon with a serious case of same-face syndrome, Takeuchi Takashi. He's one of the main artists for Type Moon, and his art style is very recognizable. But here's where he differs from other artists. Usually, artists either don't realize they're doing this, or they actively try to avoid it because it can make characters feel too similar. But Takeuchi loves the face he designed for Artoria Pendragon. I remember reading or hearing somewhere, though I can't recall exactly where, that Takeuchi enjoys drawing Saber's face so much that he constantly sketches it during his free time. If anyone knows the exact source for this, drop it in the comments. But because he's so obsessed with Saber's face naturally, that obsession bled into his work. And before long, more and more characters with Saber's face started appearing. Well, actually, people just shrugged it off as his art style. But as the Fate series grew rapidly, Emperor Nero happened. A lot of fan theories popped up about why she looked so much like Artoria. But the one thing that's certain is her appearance. which resembled Artoria, ended up triggering a whole meme. She wasn't even designed by Takeuchi, but the fact that she looked so much like Artoria made the comparisons impossible to ignore. I think that's when Saber face went from "Takeuchi just draws like this" to an actual trend. Over time, Takeuchi doubled down. Early on, maybe he just drew faces similar to Saber's because he was naturally good at it. But eventually, he started giving new characters not just the same facial features, but even identical eyes, just with a different color. The image above is Archaeid's latest design from 2021. You can see how easy it is to just tweak a few details, and it already feels like a whole new character. Not only that, the trend has actually been slowly creeping up to the present day. In Fate Apocrypha in 2012, we got Jeanne d'Arc after her Fate Zero mention. Then came Mordred, Artoria's clone daughter, son, which fueled the trend even more. The Lord El Malloy Case Files novel in 2014, and the anime in 2019 introduced Grey, another Saber face. And by the time Fate Grand Order dropped in 2015, Saber face went from a recurring trend to an unstoppable phenomenon. Even Mash kinda looks like a Saber face, but since she covers one of her eyes, not as many people notice. At this point, I'm pretty sure Takeuchi just decided to make this his thing. What started as a simple case of same-face syndrome has now become an iconic part of the Fate series. Whether it's an actual Artoria or just another character with her face, I think there is at least one every year. And yeah, Takeuchi himself is well aware of the trend and the memes surrounding Saber face. He's fully embraced it. He even joked that he has a noble phantasm called Unlimited King of Knights, which lets him draw as many versions of Artoria as he wants, with endless variations. More or less, that was the origin. But what about the impact? Is same-face syndrome actually a good thing? Well, I don't think so. You know what, honestly, I think there are pros and cons. Like on the good side, you've got things like consistency in art style, easier and faster production, stronger branding, and even more focus on outfits and expressions instead of just facial structure. But of course, the downsides are there too. Lack of visual diversity, harder to tell characters apart, and sometimes it just feels lazy or uninspired. I'm sure most of you already know the ups and downs when it comes to this kind of thing in a series, but what about in FGO? The impact specifically in FGO? Thankfully, same-face syndrome isn't really a major issue here, mainly because FGO has a ton of different illustrators working on the characters. Sure, you can easily tell which ones are designed by Takeuchi and which ones aren't, but since there's so much variety in styles overall, it doesn't really become a huge deal. At least not for me. That said, Saberface being a recurring thing can get a bit exhausting. I've seen a lot of fans complain about how not just the faces, but even the poses are sometimes copy-pasted. It's led to people thinking that the artist might be recycling their old work or just too lazy to come up with something new from scratch. I mean, from an efficiency standpoint, I get it, and honestly, it's fine. But yeah, if it happens too often, it does start to feel a bit lazy. But what about you guys? What do you think of this whole Saber face phenomenon? What started as a simple case of same-face syndrome, just drawing similar-looking faces, eventually became something bigger. Thanks to the creator's love for Saberface, plus the boost from the memes, it turned into an actual flood of Artorias. From different stories, timelines, universes, you name it. And I don't think this will stop. Even if Takeuchi's art style changes someday with his noble phantasm, he will definitely find a way to adapt that new art style to his Artoria variants. I just hope it doesn't go too far. I think that's it for today. Click subscribe and I'll see you guys next time.